young minds, as late APJ Abdul Kalam had written, igniting minds. So I hope that by the end of the day, both of us would have been able to ignite your minds in this direction. When we talk of any threat from any country, you have to understand their psychology, where they come from. That is how you will understand what is the threat you are facing. If you don't know that, then you will not be able to counter it. I'll just mention 2-3 things for you to understand. They have a concept known as Tianxia. When I say they, I don't mean the Communist Party, I mean China, which includes Taiwan. They are all taught from childhood about this concept, which is all under the sun, which means everything under the sun is theirs. And they take it that they have a mandate from heaven to rule the world. That is the kind of thinking you're looking at. We got to know more about this when one of their political scientists who belongs to their Academy of Social Sciences, Zhao Tingyang, he wrote a book in 2005 about this. And in 2009, he wrote another book of how China should convert all the existing instruments that the Westerners have made to look after the globe, to convert it to Chinese characteristics. He was not talking in thin air. Since 1999, China has steadily been making a shadow organization to all the existing institutions and organizations which are there, controlled by China, and quite a lot of countries, bulk of the countries are part of that also. It was a planning that when China rules the world, these are the institutions which will take over the control of the globe. That is how the planning is done by them. This is the kind of threat you face. Okay. Then there is a very nice book written by Martin Jacks in 2009. See, I'm talking of 2005, 2009 because that was when China was on the rise. It was the flavor of the globe. He wrote a book, When China Rules the World. Page, I think, around 3004. From their historical documents, he has given the concept of how China looks at the world. There are 5 concentric circles. Innermost is the seat of power. Today in Beijing, it's called Zhongnanhai, where all the ruling elites stay. Then comes the royal domains, which is the Han heartland. Han is the dominant people of China. What exactly is the Han heartland, historically? To the north is the Yellow River, which they call Huanghe. To the south is the Yangtze and the Pearl River. To the east is the eastern seaboard. To the west is the Great Wall of China. Anything else that they have is occupation, which is Manchuria, Yunnan, Tibet, Xinjiang, and Inner Mongolia. Because historically the threats have come from these areas to conquer the Han. So they want to dominate that. Okay, so this is the pacification zone. The 5 places that I have spoken out, they call it as the pacification zone. Next, you'll be surprised. Barbarian allies. So those who are, rest of the world for them are barbarians. You and me are barbarians. So when China talks of great civilizational initiative, I have a hearty laugh. When he looks on everybody else as barbarian, what civilizational initiative are you talking about? This is their concept. If you're allied with them, you're still a barbarian. And for the rest, you're either called a barbarian or a savage. This is the view that a child starting from school is brought upon. And this is the kind of view that the Far East is also brought upon. So let's not go very gung-ho on Japan and South Korea also. Our relationship needs to be transactional, nothing more, nothing less. Then their concept, enunciated by Chiang Kai-shek when he was fighting the communists starting from the 30s, is that there cannot be two suns in the universe. It implies, as children you would have played the king of the heap. So on top of the heap there can be only one person. So China looks on themselves as the king of the heap. So they cannot be anyone else. So at least in Asia he looks down on you because you are the next rising power, and post Sindoor you are the power, not him. He doesn't like that. Then we have all been taught about Tibet and 5 fingers and how Mao made this statement. Sorry, made by Chiang Kai-shek in the 40s. Okay? Then we all talk about in the South China Sea, some people prefer to call it the Indo-China Sea, the 9-dash line. It used to be the 11-dash line laid out Chiang Kai-shek. Republic of China, Chiang Kai-shek of Kuomintang. The 2 dashes that were dropped was in the Gulf of Tonkin because North Vietnam was being assisted by China to fight the South Vietnamese. And that's when they went to him and said, it doesn't look nice that you are helping us and yet you claim our area. And that is how the 2 dashes of the Gulf of Tonkin was dropped by Mao for Vietnam. So whatever you are listening today that Mao said, sorry, everything was said by Chiang Kai-shek. Mao is only carrying it forward. So this is where the enemy comes from. I'm being blunt and calling him the enemy because he is going out to destroy you internally. He wants to destroy you. He cannot countenance anyone else because his dream was to rule Asia and then rule the world. Phase 1 was Asia. Okay. But what is the current dynamics? The death of the dream. The dream collapsed even before he could visualize it because of a few things that Xi Jinping did. He didn't follow Deng Xiaoping's dictum that you bide your time. He thought that the time had come for China to exert. It had not come. He became aggressive against the US and the West, on whose money through import Chinese economy was running. Chinese economy was running on realty and exports. Realty collapsed, export has collapsed. Economy has collapsed, he doesn't know what to do. Because all those who were experts and they eliminated them. The only other person who could have taught him something was his ex-premier Li Ka-shang. He had him eliminated also. Okay. The biggest challenge China faces today is demography. What is the challenge of demography? There is a working age population who can be used, who can work, and there is the old people. Today they are almost equal. Each working man or woman supports 6 people on top. 2 of her parents and 4 grandparents, his, her. If you marry, If both are working, 2 of them are supporting 12. If only one is working, one is supporting 13. Do you realize the load? They don't want children. Because China, being run by a communist party, is not a communist country. It's an out and out capitalist country. You pay for everything. In a communist country, the government looks after you from home to tomb. China doesn't look after anything. I've been to China. It's expensive. It's not cheap. Right? So now if your working age population and the old people have become equal, and some say by 2030 it might exceed, the old people population might exceed the working age population, then how do you grow? You don't have people to work. If you've listened to General Shankar's YouTube on Gunner Shot, he's covered these things in excellent details, giving out the problems that they have faced. And as a corollary to this, China, the PLA is 40% conscript. He's not getting conscripts. People don't want to come. See, if one person is looking after 6 people, if he dies, who looks after the 6 people? They don't have a concept of pension. Who looks after the 6 people? So they're not willing fighters. Okay, this much I have practically seen, having served for 4 years on the Chinese border. They're not willing fighters. They've lost trust. People across the world don't trust him because he says one thing and then thereafter he does something else. And post-Op Sindoor and now, as you see in the Iran-Israel war, his influence in the Middle East and other areas is collapsing. Okay. What is going on now within China? Tremendous power struggle out in the open. Xi Jinping is being sidelined. His people he drew his strength from essentially 4 areas. Shanxi province, where he belongs to, Zhejiang and Fujian, the 2 provinces where he worked. And Zhejiang, Fujian, olden days used to be the Nanjing military region. There was the 31st Group Army, which is today the 73rd Group Army. He drew his strength from them as far as the military is concerned. All purged by Chang Yuzhia. Chang Yuzhia, he used to call him his blood brother. Because when his father was purged, Chang Yuzhia was the one, elder to him by 2 years, who guided him and helped him through the psychological stress. But now there is a power struggle between them on who controls the PLA. There is a power struggle between the Communist Youth League, whom he tried to sideline. Hu Jintao, if you've seen in the last Congress, he was just frog-marched outside. Because his protege, Hun Chunhua, was supposed to be the premier, and Xi Jinping was making his man Li Qiang the premier. Now Hu Jintao's premier, Wen Xiaopao, has taken control. And Wen Xiaopao and Hu Jintao are sidelining all pro-Xi Jinping people. And you think Xi Jinping people will roll over? They controlled the Communist Party for 10 years. So there's a massive power struggle going on there. So they're trying to bring somebody from retirement, Wang Yang, to take over as the General Secretary. He wants control of every part of China. Chang Yuzhia, General Chang Yuzhia, he says, over my dead body, PLA is mine. This is where China is today. Fighting amongst themselves as to who will control the Communist Party, who will control the PLA, and the people are totally antagonistic to the Communist Party. They don't want Communist Party, they want democracy. So this is where China is. But what you have to realize, that a declining China is very dangerous. They strike out to externalize their internal problems. 3 examples I will give you. Korean War, 1950. Yes, they were being supported by then Soviet Union, and South Korea, along with the Americans, had almost reached the border with China, North Korea, Yalu River. And Soviet Union, of course, a communist country, would not like to have a capitalist country on its border. The Communist Party has just won the civil war against the Kuomintang, who had run away now, which is called Taiwan. Those days used to be called Formosa. There were still remnants left. So what do? They strike out in Korea to divert people's attention, to get them back to the Communist Party and PLA. Succeeds. Then he goes for the Great Leap Forward, Mao Zedong, which is a total disaster. Famine. Millions of people died. Mao was being sidelined, and India presented themselves on a platter, and you had 62 war. PLA succeeds, Mao gains total control of China. After Mao dies, there is a power struggle, Gang of Four and Deng Xiaoping. 79, Deng Xiaoping comes to power, but he finds that the PLA is not listening to him. He needs an excuse to sort out the PLA, and you have Vietnam War. Militarily a disaster as far as PLA is concerned, but strategically total victory, because Soviet Union had signed a similar agreement like what was signed in 71 war with us with Vietnam. In 71 war, Soviet Union sent their submarines to block the 7th Fleet entering the Bay of Bengal to assist you. They did nothing for Vietnam because they were busy trying, their attention was diverted in Afghanistan at that time. So strategically, China could send a message to the people of the region, Far East and Southeast Asia, that I am the boss here. Soviet Union is not going to come and help you. But will China be able to do something physically? Today, post Galwan, while he may have pulled back after 4 years, all the troops that were deployed were there. In our terms, he has equivalent of 1 corps, full stop, that he can do. Because rest, he has his problems on Eastern Seaboard, and he has his problems with not just Russia, even North Korea, because North Korea has gone into Russia's lap. So he doesn't have that many troops. So his best thing is to subvert you internally. Okay. And there is a wonderful monograph written by Mr. N.C. Bipindra, who used to be in the Cabinet Secretariat, mapping the footprints and mapping the Chinese footprints and influence in India. The cutoff was 2021-22. By that time, he claims 10,000 crores had already been sent to subvert and influence your people. So, how do they do that? Universities which have Confucius Institute, that's run directly by the Chinese. The United People's Work Front Department. That's used for subversion totally. And any university or college having China Study Center, that's again funded directly by the Chinese. And that's used to subvert. Subversion is a separate topic, if somebody asks me, I'll give you how the subversion is done, what are the methods of subverting people. So what are the internal threats? So we've spoken of China, that's your threat. But please remember, he is not the only one. Pakistan, I will leave it to General Shankar to talk about. You think the US and the West are happy with your rise? Of course not. Because the pie is the same. You rise up, you take away somebody's portion. Will that someone be happy? No. But the situation is very different. They need you. They need your market. Without it, they can't survive. All their economies are stagnating or facing recession. And without your market, they cannot survive. So this, if they don't bring you in and they try to stay, it's called a Kindleberger trap. There was a famous economic historian, Michael Kindleberger, part of post-1945 reconstruction plan of Western Europe, Marshall Plan. He had analyzed why there was a great recession after the First World War. After the First World War, the only country which had anything to offer economically to the globe was US, and US was not included in the system by the European powers. European economy had shattered. US had surplus manufacture, no buyers, so all economies collapsed. To avoid that, they need you, but they don't need a strong India. They need a subservient India. So they will also be part of this internal threat to you, and especially after Op Sindoor, where you've shown that your own homegrown equipment is much better than what the West could provide, and especially the Americans. You literally incinerated and destroyed the American equipment which was south of Satluj. So, what are the tools that they will use? We've seen so common, and it becomes so rabid after the Op Sindoor, narrative warfare. Negative narrative about you, psychological operations, lawfare. What is lawfare? Lawfare means he understands exactly what your laws are, what are the loopholes, and functions within the loopholes against you. So even if you take someone to court, he'll win his case, because that's the loophole in the law. That is lawfare, which is part also of China's three warfares strategy, which is a subset of unrestricted warfare. Unrestricted warfare simply means there are no rules. 24/7 you are at war, which is a direct carbon copy of what the Americans do, which they call it full spectrum dominance. So that is where it stands, and that is the kind of threat you are going to face. They will incite religious riots, they will try to attempt strikes, attacks on your infra, try to hit your stock markets. What the Chinese are looking at is the manufacturing entities are moving out of China, what they call under friend shoring, coming to India. They would like to deny that, to say that it is not stable. And so, when you look at the language being used by Wen Jiabao and Hu Jintao today, post Xi Jinping, they say we'll go back to Deng Xiaoping, we will take no leadership, we will accept whatever the West says. And they will also be part of this to say that, look, we are stable, we are ready to follow your norms. He is not ready to follow your norms, and he is unstable internally. That is the internal threat that is going to be posed to you. And of course, there will be political interference in your state and local elections. Enormous amount of money. George Soros had no compunctions in telling that for the 2024 elections, he had earmarked $2 billion to defeat the NDA. $2 billion, and the others talk about we interfering in their elections. This he was open and blunt about it. Okay. They will also use cartoons, memes, social media, your entertainment industry, your advertisements to create fissures within the society. Your response has to be mature. If you respond to everything immaturely, then you're playing their game. If your response is mature, then you will not play their game. You've shifted the blueprint. External threat, if you look at Pakistan, General Shankar will cover, or look at China, I don't think any major effort is going to come up in the next 5 to 10 years. But if these fissures that they have attempted, if they come up and weaken you internally, then China will surely come. That is his overall military strategy. Why do you call him a dragon? Understand that. Dragons don't bite. They burn their victim and then swallow it whole. He doesn't bite. So if China is a dragon, he's going to burn you internally and just swallow you up, gobble you up. Because you will not have any internal strength and resilience to counter it. That is his strategy. Okay. What is the way ahead for us? Like I said, first thing, your response has to be mature. You can't be immature. He did this, so I must do that. Then you're playing his game. You have to have a mature way of responding to that, so you change the goalpost. Now he will respond that the goalpost has been changed, now what should I do? That this, what I wanted to do, didn't succeed. Okay, so how do you manage that? Yes, you need economic growth, but it has to be balanced with adequate funding for internal and external threats. So your internal security force and external security force need that adequate funding. What happened? Why was Op Sindoor such a great success, which is ongoing, the first phase? They were planning for the last war. We had shifted the goalpost. So when we showed in Op Sindoor what the US and the West were only dreaming, and even the Chinese were only dreaming that they would want to achieve, which you showed it on ground, that this is how it is done. Now they're going to be planning for this. You need funding to shift the goalpost now. Let him always plan for the previous war. Chinese call this concept an assassin's maze. Okay. Anyone who wants it, subsequently I'll tell you what assassin's maze is. Why are we talking only of what they are doing? Let's become proactive. Pay them back in the same coin. Who stopped you? Nobody. If he says unrestricted warfare, I say, okay, welcome unrestricted warfare. And China is giving you and Pakistan is giving you in a platter. So China, I say, is giving you in a platter. The CPC factions are there, PLA factions are there. People are not happy with them. You got a beautiful playground to play around with and increase those fissures. Go ahead. If he's burning from inside, then I become the dragon for him. Okay? So, this is what Chanakya Niti is all about. We need to get back and stop looking at Sun Tzu and let's go back to Chanakya, modify it and apply it for today's world. Chanakya Niti, Sam Dam Dand Bhed, still holds true. And that you got to do anything and everything to make sure that your enemy weakens and that your allies stay true to you. Just because a person is allied to you doesn't mean his intent cannot change. That's why in military you always look at capability. Capability is what is more important. Intent can change at any time. So if he has the capability to harm you, even if he is allied to you, you've got to make sure that the person who is in power there is always allied with you. That is what is Chanakya Niti. Okay? And what else? Yes, make use of what is known as reflexive control. Reflexive control means I will not tell you what to do. I will create situations where you will think this is the best path and you will take that path. And even when I tell you don't take that path, you will still take that path. That is reflexive control. And that is how people are subverted to do other people's diktat. He never tells you that he wants you to do that. So, reflexive control, whatever fissures are there to do that, because you have a tremendous amount of deniability. It's your people who are doing it, not me. Like when they make narratives and papers are written in some articles are published in some newspapers and journals, it's our people who are writing the negative things about us. So when you ask, they will say, not me, it's your people. That's reflexive control. So it's time that we wake up and start learning from our ancient scriptures about these things, which is plenty available, and let us modify and start applying them, because the threat that you face, like I said, is not just from China. Yes, China is there, but the US and the West are also not hunky-dory. Look at how he called Asif Munir for lunch. Need I say anything more? Thank you. I'll hand over the floor now.
Thank you very much, General Rajiv. I will not break the flow, so I will straight away hand it over to General Shankar, and then we will take on the question and answers. Before that, as already brought out by General Rajiv, his focus was on China, and General Shankar's focus would be on Pakistan, though there will be an overlap. Thank you very much, General Rajiv. Over to Lieutenant General Shankar, please.
Colonel Sundar, thanks a lot. Mr. Mayappan also thanks a lot for inviting us over here and giving us an opportunity to talk to all of you. A very good morning to all ladies, gentlemen and children who are here. It's indeed an honor for me to speak to we the people of Chennai, right? I'm part of the Chennai people, right? That's the first thing. Right, before we go further, you heard General Narayanan go deep into China. China is our difficult enemy. It's difficult enemy because we don't know much about it. But Pakistan is a familiar enemy. Okay, everyone thinks we know more about it, but yet it's the most dangerous enemy. Right. But I'll first set the thing rolling by a few things which we need to understand where we are. Unless we understand where we are in this whole game, and where India sits internationally, we will not know what is the actual threat and post of Sindhu. Like what General Narayanan said, post of Sindhu, the whole game has changed for India. The threat is no more external. The threat is internal. That's the first game which has changed, which all of us have to understand. The second thing which has happened post of Sindhu, which he mentioned in the end, we changed the goalpost in of Sindhu. We didn't change the goalpost in just war. We changed the goalpost internationally to make people think differently about war, differently about India. Along with the fact that, when Op Sindhu happened and finished, what did we do? Everyone thinks that we bet Pakistan. We didn't beat Pakistan. We bet China also. Okay, we bet China also because Pakistan was being fully supported by China. And we bet China. And I'll explain this to you because unless you understand this a little more in detail, you'll not understand what we are going to speak of what we have spoken so far. So that's the first thing which has happened. Along with this, we became the fourth largest economy. Right? And just this quarter, our GDP grew quite a bit. In a world where people don't have jobs, where people are, everything is going costly for them, things are scarce, there are no people to work, right? And people are fighting all around. You see Russia and Ukraine, they've been fighting for the past 3 years. You see Israel and Gaza, ever since I can remember, they've been fighting. Or for that matter, even the South China Sea and China, China also has been just fighting. We are not had this long wars. And where we've had long wars and the counter-terrorism and all that, we've managed the damage. And as a result, India has grown. All of us have grown. And that is something we need to realize. And post-Op Sindoor, this has come into focus in a big manner. So, actually, I really feel it shouldn't be what is the external threats to India's security post-Op Sindoor. I would say what is the external threat we pose to the world post-Op Sindoor. Very difficult, but this is what we should start thinking. Okay. So, like I said, Op Sindoor has changed equations for India forever. That's the first thing. Why? We defeated China, Pakistan, intrinsically US also. And that is why US ran to help Pakistan out. Why did it run to help Pakistan out and bail Pakistan out? It wanted to bail Pakistan out because it was going into war here in Iran. Today morning, Mr. Trump has authorized, in fact, they've bombed a nuclear plant and all that. And if you analyze this, they've borrowed a lot of our ideas. I do this daily. In fact, today morning also I analyzed it quickly. They borrowed a lot of our ideas, what we did in Op Sindoor in this. Not only Americans, even the Israelis. So that is one thing which you need to understand. Okay. So we have a strong military and we have a strong economy. And both are synonymous. One is the armed forces, the economy is the people of India. And all of you are the people of India. And unless you grow, India doesn't grow. Unless our children who are sitting here don't grow, nothing happens. And the time has come for India to think differently about how our children have to grow and all that. And those of you who are sitting in the front seat, all mamas, mummies like me, we all know what we grew up with. We grew up with rubber slippers and things like that, right? And where we shared our shorts or shirts with our brothers and sisters. Things have changed from then to now. Our children are able to go in scooters and cars and all that. It's a sea change. I wish the time comes when we can send our children off in helicopters and UAVs to school. It should come. Right. Okay. So I would like you to all understand another phenomenon, right, which you must understand before I get to Pakistan. We are talking of an armed force which has never lost a war with China or Pakistan, barring 1962. 1962, we lost for many reasons, right, with China, and it was a bad defeat. But if you look at Pakistan, 1947, the Kashmir War, 1965, 1971, where we made two Pakistans, one East Pakistan and West Pakistan, which today we call Bangladesh. Right? Thereafter, Op Vijay in Kargil, and then, now, of course, Op Sindoor. We have always defeated them. We have never lost a war. Similarly with China, So you'll say, look, we never fought a war with China. With China, you don't fight great wars, you fight small wars. So after 1962, in 1967, we had an issue with China in Natula, in a place called Natula, 1967. And we hammered them. After that, they didn't speak for a long time, 67. In fact, after the 65 war and the 67 war, when we went into Bangladesh in 71, China didn't interfere because they knew what they'll get. We defeated them. We killed over 250 Chinese soldiers. This is something which we ourselves have forgotten. Thereafter, China attempted something in Arunachal Pradesh in 1984. Oh, sorry, 87, 88. Right? They came in at a place called Sundronchu. And what we did was, in that area of Arunachal Pradesh, along the line of actual control, we occupied all the commanding heights, which so far we have not vacated. And China feels, handicapped by that. Actually, we defeated them in a big way at that time, without fighting. And we taught China how to win a war without fighting, which they talk. So, right. After that, for a long time, nothing happened with China till Doklam happened. In Doklam, they wanted to come, and take over Doklam and peep into our Siliguri corridor. We didn't allow them to happen. 2020, they came in Ladakh, they tried something, all that. We stopped them at Galwan. And then we pushed them back. Now, we held on to China, or rather confronted China for 4 years, and we pushed them back to where they started. In this, we are the only country which has pushed China back by over 9 to 15 kilometers twice. No other country has been able to do it, including USA. USA lost half the country of Korea to China. Today, if North Korea and South Korea exist, because Chinese defeated USA and the 38th parallel. Then, so far that has not been reversed. We have reversed. It's only a matter of time. We have to be patient, because with China, timelines are long. We'll take Aksai Chin back. It's a matter of time. It might not be for my generation, it might be for the next generation. Okay. Right. After that comes Op Sindoor, which is a joint operation between Pakistan and China, and we've defeated them. So we've actually, in between, they tried something in Arunachal Pradesh at a place called Yangtze. This was in October 22, right? And we bet them badly. We bet them with sticks, we bet them with rocks, and broke their bones and sent them back. After that, the Chinese have not dared to come near us. In fact, they have gone back in 24 when our Prime Minister met Xi Jinping in Kazan, and they went back. So you're looking at an armed force which has not lost a war. In doing so, what has it done? In doing so, our armed forces have enabled India to grow. We hear this word called Viksit Bharat. For a Viksit Bharat, you need a Surakshit Bharat. Okay? So, they are two sides of the same coin. So, while the people of India have to work for a Viksit Bharat, the armed forces work for a Surakshit Bharat. So it brings me to a major thing which all children here should understand. The armed forces of India are not meant to fight. They are meant to protect the country and ensure it grows. And that is what we have done. And as we go along in days, you will find that the space to create war will grow lesser and lesser. There is no space for war as it was fought in 1971 or anything. It will be like this Op Sindoor kind of actions, and it might be lesser. If you see how war will come to us, the external threat, it will be something like what happened in 2020 or 2024 with China, small actions, which have large ramifications. And like what happened, see, we had a month-long war in Kargil, right? Thereafter, you come down to Opsanur, just 4 days, the whole thing finished. Things have changed. Okay. So armed forces have to be prepared for this change. And to that extent, we are well ahead of the loop as to how this change will come. And let me tell you, over the past 2-3 decades, a lot of change is happening where we can do things for ourselves. And that is why today when Colonel Sundar says, look, you have 2 army people who are sitting in IIT. I am not an engineer, nor is General Rajiv Narayanan. Okay, we are just from NDA. We just got BSc degrees and all that. But what are we doing here in IIT? We are igniting the young people in IIT to think for tomorrow, for India to fight tomorrow's battle. And dare say, we are doing something fantastic. I must tell you now itself, very soon we are going to have a center in IIT Madras, first week of August, either 4th or 5th August, we are going to inaugurate it, where it's going to be an Army IIT Research Center, so that our children don't contribute to Amazon or Microsoft or Google. Our children should contribute to us. And this is happening. This is the change which is happening in India. Right? And I teach, he's also teaching, both of us teach young kids who come to IIT. And I also teach, we also teach professors, that's a different thing. Okay. We are teaching them to realize their aspirations of a better India. As against what many people think, that people from IIT want to go abroad and do jobs and all that. Yeah, they should go and go abroad. I want all of you children to go abroad, learn and come back and contribute back to India. That's the way to do things. It's not necessary that everyone sits in India like a frog in the bell. Okay? It's not necessary. I have 2 children. One of my daughter is in India, my son is abroad. That's okay. We learn. We make money. Contribute back to India so that India grows. Okay. Okay, now let's look at Pakistan. The thing is, everyone says Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. What everyone should understand is, why was Pakistan created? I mean, if you understand why Pakistan was created and what the whole story is, then you'll see what a threat it is or not. Right? Pakistan was basically created by the Western society, basically Britishers and Americans, right, at the end of Second World War, to create a wedge between Soviet Russia and India. They did this. The Americans and Britishers didn't want the expanding Soviet influence to reach a socialist India. Because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a socialist at heart. And for that matter, anyone who rules India is socialist at heart, including Mr. Modi. Because our country is like that, it demands socialism. Our country's structure is socialist by nature. Any right-wing party also will become socialist. That's why he distributes, money for toilets and, free gas and all that. It's socialist principles. But anyway, that's a different story. So Pakistan was created they felt that if this Pakistan, if there was no Pakistan, and this huge India and socialist USSR get together, they lose Asia completely. Because by then, they knew that they were losing China. Then this triangle of China, Russia and India would be too big for them to handle. So they created Pakistan. And by then, Persia or Iran had oil. They had to protect their oil interests. They had to protect their oil interests in the Saudi Arabian. So that's how this whole concept of Pakistan was made. And this unnatural state called Pakistan came into being. Okay. Now, once that came into being, down the years, Pakistan was needed by all these people, to do what they want to do in Afghanistan. It became a frontline state. Because whatever terrorism came out of Afghanistan, which was incidentally created by USA to start with, right? And they had to fight it through Pakistan, so Pakistan remained important. Then this Chinese came in, they started becoming richer, and when they wanted to become this thing, they used Pakistan. And Pakistan and China knew that India was their long-term problem. For them, it was a long-term threat. So from the beginning, they always joined hands together. Right? If I go into history, there are so many times when they have joined hands together. And in fact, Pakistan was the first country which recognized the People's Republic of China in 1949. We recognized it a little later. And Pakistan handed over part of our territory called Shaksgam Valley and Shaksgam Tract to China illegally in the 60s. Okay. Now, the Pakistan is first and foremost is an unnatural state which was created. This unnatural state always had an existential threat from India. It always felt that its existence was threatened by India. Why was its existence threatened by India? It's something which all of us must understand. Its existence was threatened because of water. Fundamentally water, because Pakistan, the way it was made, is based on only one river, Indus. The Indus basin is the only river which contributes water to Pakistan. If tomorrow Indus is stopped, Pakistan ceases to exist. Like once upon a time, Saraswati River was there. There was a civilization along the Saraswati River. Saraswati River vanished, the civilization vanished. Similarly, if Indus River vanishes tomorrow, the Pakistan vanishes. So the existential threat of Pakistan is Indus. And because Indus flows from Kashmir, the three major rivers of Indus flow through Kashmir. Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. They want Kashmir. And if you see the Indus Water Treaty, which has been on operation from the 60s, 1960 till now, the three northern rivers or the western rivers are with Pakistan and the eastern or the southern rivers are with us. They have never fought for these rivers. Their existential problem is in the north, that Indus, Chenab and Jhelum. And these three rivers flow through Kashmir, and that is why they want Kashmir. Right? It's an existential problem for them. In 47, 65, even in 71, and in Kargil, their entire reason to go to war was to get hold of Kashmir. If they don't get Kashmir, existentially they can cease to exist. This is something you have to understand. And that is why they are fighting with us. Right. Now, if that was the case, of course, we have fought with them militarily, everything, all that we have done. We are now at a stage, we will be fools if we fight with them militarily. Right. As days have gone by, Pakistan has taken a different view. They've got radicalized. They don't have education. Their education is based largely on, Islam. Even science is based on Islam for them. Whereas in India, we have gone, in a progressive manner, or everything has grown well. We are a secular nation with a, diverse demography. We have taken everything into consideration. We have balanced our society, and we have grown. And we have grown where we are. We have put in a lot of, effort into our education. Just to give you an idea, many people today, it's a fashion for people to curse Jawaharlal Nehru. Right? Even I do that, because he lost us 62 war. But the Pakistanis feel that, look, Jawaharlal Nehru did a lot of good to India. We wish we had a Jawaharlal Nehru. And why do they say so? Because Jawaharlal Nehru did many things, including making Bakranangal Dam, including making 7 IITs and 5 IIMs. Because of what he invested into water, what he invested into education, India has grown where it has grown. Okay, and Pakistan has none of this, Pakistan is where it is. So, the point is that you have to understand Pakistan feels a threat from you. And Pakistan is a country you cannot defeat militarily. You have to understand the second concept. It's a very important concept for everyone to understand. We have defeated them militarily every time they come to war. But yet we have a war with them. This is a military which never gets defeated. Why? Because with every defeat, it becomes stronger. It doesn't become stronger militarily, it becomes stronger politically. Right? Every war, if you see, after every war, that chap is either a dictator or now he's become a field marshal. This field marshal is called for, a lunch with Trump. The official, prime minister is sitting here and catching fish in Indus. Okay, that's it. So every time you defeat Pakistan militarily, the army becomes politically stronger. So when you have to sort out Pakistan, and Pakistan is a problem for us. He's not an existential threat, he's not anything, but he's a threat to us. He's a threat because he can do a lot of funny things, we'll come to that. Okay? And why is he a threat? Because he perceives us to be a threat. And, he has to assist China and all that. So, getting back to the Pakistan military. So, Pakistan military has become politically stronger with every military defeat. With every political defeat, it strengthens its military that much more to make it harder for us to defeat it. It invests more money at the cost of, teaching its own children or giving help to its own children or people. So this is the dilemma which we face with Pakistan. For a long time, the answer was staring at us. It was only 3 years back when we scrapped Article 370, right? That this whole story we started understanding. Our Prime Minister, and I must credit him, for the first time when we scrapped Article 370, Pakistan has now felt that they have lost Kashmir forever. One. If they have lost Kashmir forever, they'll never get it back. That's a story which they understand well. Okay? If they have lost Kashmir forever, what is the next threat for them? Water. Water is the threat which they face, which is their existential threat. Now they are to face it. Now when we scrapped Article 370 and said Kashmir is an integral part of India, and no talk, a person in Kashmir will get the same rights as what someone in Chennai gets. Right? The Pakistan army could not respond. They were just sitting on the sidelines, they didn't know what to do. We actually defeated them politically. So if you want to defeat Pakistan tomorrow, you have to defeat them politically, not militarily. Militarily you can keep defeating, you will get another field marshal. Every defeat of Pakistan, one field marshal comes up, or a dictator comes up. Okay, you're just replacing one idiot with the other. So you have to defeat them politically. So how do you defeat them politically? I would say, our Prime Minister has already done that by saying we have scrapped the Indus Water Treaty. No more, we will not give you water free of cost. You want your water, we'll give it to you, provided you renounce terror. Stop terror. And that is something which is hitting Pakistan very hard. And what's more, after Operation Sindoor, you saw suddenly, the status of Pakistan changed. And you see this Chief of Army Staff and this Field Marshal sitting with Trump and having lunch and all that. Very nice. Why did they want all this to be done? Because America had sought out Iran. For whatever reason, I'll not talk of it, because that's a different subject. So, all this has happened. But something else happened at this point of time. President Trump, 3 days back, before he met Asim Munir, spoke to our Prime Minister. And our Prime Minister has told him two things, which are very major. First, he said any act of terror from Pakistan will be treated as an act of war, and we will proceed against them that way. Why did he tell them? Because in days to come, you will find that Americans will come and sit in Pakistan. Something as days go by. Earlier, when Americans were sitting in Pakistan and Pakistanis attacked the parliament, we couldn't attack Pakistan and sort them out because the Americans told us, look, we are sitting here, don't do it, we are doing it for a larger cause and all that. Or for that matter, many other instances which happened of terror. So our Prime Minister has told America and Trump, it doesn't matter, you do what you want with Pakistan. From my side, you can go, like, you do whatever you want with Pakistan. We have no problem. Go to Iran, go to Israel, wherever. But if Pakistan does anything, we will do what we have to do. And Op Sindoor is still on. We are not talking post-Op Sindoor. The second thing he has said very categorically to the president, which many people have missed, is that there is no mediation. There will be only talk between India and Pakistan. No one will mediate, and least of all USA. What is the implication? Because the next mediation will be on Indus Water Treaty. Why Pakistan is running all around the countryside with China, this, that and all that? To say, look, someone has to come and mediate. The World Bank has said we will not mediate. So someone has to come and mediate between India and Pakistan. So, and we have told no one else will mediate. You come and talk to us. So hereafter, the fight with Pakistan is political. And when our political, and with the kind of strong polity we have, many in India will think, okay, the only party which is good is BJP. Someone in Tamil Nadu will say the only party which is good is DMK. Someone in Calcutta will say the only party which is good is TMC. That's fine, I have no problem with it. But I'm glad that all of them make India. Just think of a status where every state in India votes for one party. Then you are no different than the Communist Party of China. We don't want that. It is through this diversity we grow, and we have grown and grown stronger. And this diversity gives us strength. And that strength was on display when all our teams, combined political teams, went all over giving talks all over the world. And who spoke? It was the opposition leaders who spoke. The opposition leaders came and stood for India. And this is where our political strength is. And Pakistan doesn't have that strength. So we are in a situation where we have turned tables, both for China, like what General Narayanan said, and Pakistan. And today, even a country like USA feels fit to, consult us before they do anything major. They can't do anything against China. They can't do anything against Pakistan without consulting us. Then the question comes, like what General Narayanan said, look, is USA a threat to India? That's the next question. I don't think so. The reason is this. We are too connected with, USA culturally. Because virtually in South India, every second family has someone sitting in Illinois or Michigan or San Jose or something like that. And today the second, third generation of people there are now becoming vice presidents or vice presidents' children or brothers. So this cultural connect will have its own effect. That's why I say I don't mind our children going to USA. Because slowly one of these days someone will become a president also out there. So a lot of things are happening which we have to understand in this larger context, why USA will never be a threat to us. The second thing is very fundamental and economic. Germany, Japan, and China. These are the three main producing nations in the world in this century. Main. And who are the major consumers of this produce? USA and the West. It is through that the USA controls Japan, China, and Germany. Their industries are controlled. Their growth is controlled. Their technology is controlled. Because for all three of them, it was, largely the Chinese thing. And this didn't start yesterday, day before. It started last century, immediately after the Second World War. They can't do this with India. These three major countries are major economies, are the producing economies. The consuming economy is China. The second biggest consumer in the world is India. And India is a country which consumes and produces. We have a gap between our own production and consumption. That is why we import. The day we can make our own consumption equal to our own production, or production equivalent to our consumption, no one can stop us. And that is why even USA can't touch us. So we have that inbuilt strength in us that we will grow. And like I said, the people who will make us grow are all these kids who are sitting in the third and the fourth row. You are the future. We are the past. Right? And this is something you have to understand. Now, Pakistan giving us problems, what threat it will be, whether it will be a nuclear threat, it will never be a nuclear threat. We've seen this in North Sindoor, they are not capable. Can there be a conventional threat? They will not be a conventional threat. What is the threat we face from Pakistan and China, both together, is what General Narayanan said. Internal subversion. Terror through Bangladesh. Some of misguided elements in India still subscribe to a notion of Pakistan for whatever reason. And that is the threat which we have to counter. And the fundamental thing, the way to counter this is concentrate on your internal security, strengthen your external security. Like I said, a Surakshit Bharat and a Viksit Bharat have to go hand in hand. Right? I do hope I put across the major issues of what constitutes a threat, what constitutes our strength, what constitutes Pakistan as our enemy, and what constitutes China. He has already said very well. Because China is a difficult country to understand. Because throughout our history, we have never had a contact, one-to-one contact between the Chinese civilization and the Indian civilization. And that fellow thinks differently, he looks differently, he eats differently. And we have a different way of life altogether. So, civilizationally, we've not had much connect. Except for that Huansang chap who came all the way and went to Nalanda and walked off. Right? So, we have to understand him more. This fellow is a fool, you have to handle him politically. That's the way I look at it, the Pakistani. And Pakistani can't affect anything. He can't come and affect any, IIT Madras in Chennai. He can't do that. Or for that matter, he can't come and attack Good Shepherd's Convent or whichever good schools in Chennai. So don't worry, right? But all of you together doing well for India is what will ensure that there is no threat to India. Thank you and Jai Hind.
The question and answer session is now open. In brief, again, I thank General Shankar and General Rajiv Narayanan for their extremely brilliant, I would say, and down-to-earth talk. The few takeaways is that the threat is more internal than external or something that both of them brought out. And also that Pakistan can never be defeated militarily because we've defeated them 4 times and they've grown stronger politically. And what's the way ahead also has been brilliantly brought out by General Shankar. Thank you, sir. And We definitely hope there'll be a lot of questions, especially from the young students here. And students, please do not hesitate to ask questions, because the very reason that you are here and you listen to these distinguished speakers is so that we could definitely have some questions from you. And the question answer session is now open, please. And I request one of the volunteers to take a mic so that anybody who wants to, yeah, please give out your name, your school, and ask the question.
Yes, I'm Anaga Ramkumar from DAV Public School. Firstly, those were like some seriously amazing speeches. Thank you so much. It gave me a pretty clear idea on what's going on. And as both of you quoted, sir, like what we need to use right now is not traditional warfare, but something new. So I'll connect this with something I read about the Russia and Ukraine war. Way before Russian tankers entered Ukrainian soil, their banks and most importantly their defense was blocked because they had hacked into it. And as you said, Operation Sindoor is still going on. This was just the first phase. So what if Pakistan uses such a tactic on India? What if it shuts us from the rest of the world? What if it hacks our computers and our security systems? And the question is not if we are prepared. Of course we are, but how prepared are we if something like this, God forbid, were to occur?
Who's called the IT king of the world?
India.
Is Pakistan anywhere there?
Not really.
Since 86, they have converted to teaching on Hadith only. Their science is what is taught there. And what is taught there? The earth is flat and all the planets move around, even the sun moves around the earth. So please tell me, do you feel there is a threat?
Not really, sir. But
Then number two, we are into quantum computing, and once that comes in, we already brought in the military the quantum cyber. So the your secrecy which comes in with quantum, very difficult to break. So you have your checks and balances which have already come in. Yes, an odd hacking from China or somewhere else does happen, but you have a certain, there is a cert in, which is centrally controlled for cyber security and emergency. My last chair, I was part of that. So don't worry about that. I don't think Chinese, they can come in, hack, and leave some face and say ha 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 and go. That's about all. Of cutting off and blocking, I would look at China more than Pakistan.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'll put this in a different context. You know, this has to be understood in a different context. Yeah, you know, in Pakistan, when you retire as a general, you retire with about maybe 100, 200 crores. Even that is change. Okay, and you go and buy a mansion somewhere and buy an island somewhere in Dubai and settle. No one goes to IIT Madras. It's only in India that retired generals go to IIT Madras. Okay. So, yeah, the Pakistanis run pizza joints. Papa John's is owned by a Pakistani general, retired general. Okay? So there's a difference in ethos. That is more important. Okay? Yeah. I hope I put this in the right context. Yeah. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. My name is M.A. Sri Sudhar of 7A, Srimati Durga Devi Chaudhary, Vivekananda Vidyalaya. Sir, how can we confirm that USA is not an enemy for us also in future?
Okay. In my case, I was looking at the short to medium term and max to the long term, another 15, 20 years, where I said that a rising India is going to be a threat for everybody. Why? Because we don't tick any of their boxes. They can't control us. We are homegrown. People of India have delivered. There is nobody from outside. Everybody else which has grown, whether you look at the West, whether you look at US itself, or you look at the Far East, whether it is China, Japan, South Korea, first thing they all had was a peace dividend. We have never had that. Internally, we have always had a trouble and strife. Number two, US gave to the West, and the West gave funding, a lot of funding to Japan, South Korea, China. We've been denied that. Technologies are exchanged, we are denied technology. We have been through a period of sanctions. Yet you are the fourth largest economy. That scares them. That scares them. Like what General Shankar had mentioned, they are monotheistic, monolithic society. We are multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious. From the outside, it feels that we are very divisive. We might break apart at any time. Yet at times of strife, like you saw in Op Sindoor, bulk of us came together. That scares them. You don't take loan. So yes, in the near to medium term, like I said, why will they want to, what is it that they are looking at, the US and the West? Not a strong leadership, a submissive leadership, but they need India. Okay. In the long term, is what, like he mentioned, some of you may go there. Maybe your grandchild may become the president of USA. US is an immigrant country. There is no person who can say that there is nothing called an American other than the Native American. They are all in reservations. Every other American traces his roots to Europe. Somebody is Irish, somebody is from Germany, somebody from somewhere. He traces from there. And today, you have the second, third generation. Like you have Vivek Ramaswamy running for governorship. One's wife is Indian. Okay. So at some point in time, it will come up in that manner that you might find that our own persons are there in the decision making and being the president. You have people coming into the Congress also. So at that point in time, then there won't be a threat because we have that cultural connect. But till that happens, they will be. You got to be careful.
Good afternoon and namaste, sir. This is Varshit and I am from DAV Gopalpura. The information that you gave till now was really wonderful, sir, and I want to know, as the future generations and the future citizens of India, what exactly should be done from our side for us to escape from, like, for us to reduce these internal threats that we have? And also, like, being a generation that is really active on social media and all that stuff, what necessary measures should be taken from our side to prevent these kind of threats and any future threats that could come to India? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you just have to be a good citizen of India, as simple as that. You know that R.K. Lakshman's Malgudi Days, the common Indian. Have you seen his, comics, cartoons? No? Yeah. We are talking of a bygone era. I would suggest ask your father or your grandfather to explain to you what Malgudi Days and it was common Indian and all that. You ought to be that. India grew from that time. Don't worry. Just do the normal thing. You'll be okay. We'll all be okay. Right? We will be an extraordinary nation of common people, ordinary people. That's what we are.
Namaste, sir. My name is P. Saram.
I am the student of Srimati Durga Devi Chaudhary Vivekananda. In future, the China are coming to attack India. The China can defeat India or India can defeat China.
As it stands today, he already stands thrashed because his equipment, state-of-art equipment that he had given to Pakistan has proved to be a disaster. His rocket force is also under question mark. So when your equipment becomes questionable and in battle it is not proven, then the man on the ground starts worrying. So the soldier is going to use that equipment, and if that equipment has come under question mark, that it is not effective, imagine the impact on the mind of the soldier. Will he fight? Okay, so like General Shankar and I in many of our joint podcasts we say, I don't want the best and the latest technology. I want that technology which my soldier can use to win the war, next war for me. That is the best technology. Look at F-35B. Today is the 7th day, and the technicians don't even know what the problem is. The latest is they are going to get a transport aircraft and fly it back either to UK or USA to find out what is the problem. That's supposed to be the best state of art. Now imagine that pilot, the mind of the pilot who had to land at Tiruvananthapuram. All he thought was he was low on fuel. Now he finds that the aircraft is useless. Next time when he is asked to fly that, think about it. What will be? The smallest defect he feels, he will scramble back. That is how mind games are played, and this is the mind game which is going on now with the equipment as far as China is concerned.
Good morning, sir. I'm Shekhar. I'm a commoner here. Two exciting enlightenment lectures. I got up in the morning, prayed God. Today, if at all we could breathe, have great water, it's because of the three people who are sitting there. It is not only, we don't have much of a faith on the political establishment, but as long as the Fauj is there, we will be Viksit, Surakshit, and Sikshit Bharat. So, thanks a lot for this lecture, sir. But one question that comes to my mind, correct me if I'm wrong. China is something, a threat in terms of economy, whatever it is. If China stops producing, the whole world comes to the knees. It is because of the Chinese doctrine that 30 years back, maybe 40 years back, they have thought that we should be the manufacturing base. The political establishment has thought about this. The best example is the COVID scenario where we had, where the Americans, even if the tissue paper has not been supplied, these fellows have been running helter and skelter. So, China, in fact, many of the people start defacing. They say Chinese mal or something like that is absolutely inferior at all. But if China is not there, if China stops producing, of course the next possibility is India coming, facing these challenges. I had been to China. One of your speeches says that China is very expensive to live. But whatever China produces, in fact today you see, from the mosquito net, it is damn cheap. That's because of the subsidies and all what they enjoy in China, So this has made China the world threat. Even the Americans are shit scared because if China is allowed to flourish, then most probably, sorry sir? Yeah, so why don't we adopt the same kind of a China doctrine in our minds? This is my question is that, China is one of the greatest economies. So we got to learn from the Chinese. So what are the lessons we need to learn from China?
Why do you want to be a Chinese, sir?
No, I want to be an Indian.
No.
I want.
look, let me put it, I think then what all he's explained to you has gone past. There's a lot of strength in Thai sadam and lemon pickle. Okay? Let's go on that. We made a great mistake in entertaining China in this country in the year 2000. When those chaps got into WTO and we let them come into this country, and that was one of the biggest mistakes we made. I'll give you an example. Before that, we were one of the biggest exporters of pharma. We still are. Now, when that pharma sector around 2000, 2005, around that time, we were exporting and becoming a world power. We were making most of the API in India. What is API? Active pharmaceutical ingredients. We had that in India. These fellows came with their Chinese stuff and that model. We allowed them in. They have finished our API off. And today, your complete pharma sector still depends on API from China. 40% of your import from China is API. And you're struggling to remake that. And you want to be China? We have to be India. And also remember, in China, in its progress, has paid a heavy, very heavy price in environment. I'll give you an example. Everyone talks of rare earths today. Am I right? Do you know that India has some of the highest rare earths deposit in the world? Thorium and rare earths. We don't mine them. You know why? If you mine them, you will environmentally degrade the entire Deccan Plateau and your agriculture will go for a toss. We don't mine them. We only mine what is required for our atomic energy requirements, and some we do for our own. We have started now safe mining, environmentally protected mining. China has environmentally degraded itself in its south and the Mongolian plateau where these rare earths are. They are also now degrading. The entire battle in Myanmar, incidentally, is of rare earths. It's not internal junta, civil war and all. It's instigated by China. Right? Is environmentally degraded. To get rare earths out of where it is. Rare earth is incidentally not rare. There is more rare earth in the world than there is gold in the world, incidentally. If you people don't know. Only thing is that it's not available in concentrated forms. It's rare because it's rarely, concentrate in normal earth is very less. You have to get it. Now to do that, you leach rare earth out of mountains with something called oxalic acid. And those places where you do this leaching process and all that are defoliated and finished forever. People who work in that get cancer just like that. Okay? And that's how that's the Chinese model. Do you want that? I don't think we need that for our children. I don't think we need that for economy. This is what he said. The best technology is what it works. The best progress is what it works. That's why I said Tire Sadam. Do you want to grow well by Tire Sadam or get obese by eating pizzas and get health problems? You have to think bigger than the Chinese model. And incidentally, he'll also tell. And the Chinese have the biggest obese people in the world today, incidentally.
Just to add to the environmental threat, every year regularly, he has floods and drought. If there are floods in the north, there is drought in the south. If he has floods in the south, he has drought in the north. That is his biggest problem which he is facing today. As far as being costly and cheaper, whatever is exported is heavily subsidized. And actually they sell it at less than the cost price, the exports. That's why you find it cheap. Who's paying for that burden? The Chinese inside. The Chinese inside. The COVID, they learned the lesson, the West. So they have already diversified. From the time there has been COVID, China, which used to send all their gift wrapping and parcels for Christmas, the order book is zero, even today. So all those factories which were dependent on making it from August to November have had to shut shop. COVID taught two lessons to the West. A, can't depend on China because the zero policy, COVID policy, shut shop. Number two, you cannot have a single manufacturing and supply chain hub. The three places that they have identified for diversification as of today: India, Vietnam, and Mexico. The internal threat, that's why I said, is China wanting to create, to tell them that don't take it out from me to India. He's already lost the garment industry. There's no garment industry now today in China left. There's nothing left in Bangladesh. Bulk of the garment of theirs, everything is going from India. I'll just add, the Bangladesh upheaval took place in August last year. No? Their ambassador is one, used to be Peter Haas, who is now the head of the Oil and Gas Commission. Peter Haas comes from the Levi's family. In the month of June, he came to Coimbatore and Tirupur, and they've signed all the contracts for future Levi's, what was to be in Bangladesh to be made here. June. The upheaval took place in August. They had already planned it, so the shift had already taken place. And I would subscribe to him. I don't want to be the next China. I next want to be the Viksit Bharat. Thank you very much.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone present here. First things first, to all the veterans present here, a heartfelt thank you for your service towards this great country. So India is rapidly growing technology-wise, and the amount of homegrown weapons and their effectiveness is increasing rapidly. And in the case of USA right now, their weapons are being degraded throughout the world. For example, the F-35B landed in Kochi, or the F-35 shot down in the Israel and Iran war. India is growing and conquering the defense market by the day. Won't it paint a bigger target on India's back? That's my question.
Yeah, a couple of things which I want to put up. Sir, must understand, life is not all about wars. Life is about growing. Nations grow, they progress. They progress when people grow. People become, developed and all that. I mean, just to give you an example, this very hall which you are sitting, I've been seeing it from, I don't know, past 50, 60 years. This has changed. Once upon a time you came, you only saw fans here. Today you see you're sitting in an AC environment and all that, and it has changed. So India has changed. Similarly, USA has also changed. Okay? So the fact is, they also know that you'll change. And who is changing USA today? If you go to many parts of USA, it is our people who are changing USA. There's an interdependency, there's a social and a cultural interdependency. At some point of time, they also realize, in fact, if you go and speak to them, he and I both have interacted extensively with the Americans. Many Americans have told us, look, we made a mistake by going to China. We wish we had come to India, things would have been much better. Okay. So as much as we have a problem with USA about what it does, it still remains our best bet to go forward. Okay? And we also have to realize, whatever we have spoken or not spoken, the hard fact is, USA is an advanced country. And we are a country which is developing. We need them as much as they need us. There's an interdependency. And this interdependency is not only cultural, it is cultural, social, geopolitical, and military, and technology. So the interdependencies are huge, which they never had with China. With China, they all knew that at one point of time they will go against them. They never expected. So this is a late story which is starting. It will last for a long time. Even now, when all these wars are happening and all that, who's in the pole position? Or who's in the prime position? It is India. India has no problems with Iran. India has no problems with Iraq, Israel. India has no problems with USA. Everyone is ignoring us. We will grow. As simple as that. China is stuck because it supported Iran. It's not going to get oil. It is geopolitically sidelined. Russia is sitting somewhere fighting with Ukraine. You are happy. I tell everyone in my podcast, if look, India is in a place where it should put on Ray-Ban goggles, take a good cool drink, get a nice chair, put one, umbrella, sit down and watch, and a hat also. Like what Sundar is wearing.
I'll just add one thing about the how much our diaspora has contributed to USA. I don't know how many of the younger lot would know, the older lot would know. There used to be a serial in American TV called ER, Emergency Room. That's where George Clooney came up and became famous. When the first episode was aired, it was banned by the critics after that you have an ER without an Indian. So you name an ER in USA where Indians are not there. My own coursemate who's settled in USA, his son is in the ER. They have ER as a specialization. Like we have a cardiologist, they have emergency ER as a specialization there. His son is in the ER. They had to rewrite the entire script and bring in an American who was the head of the ER. That's how the serial became, and the serial became famous. Just to give a small point.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Nandakumar. My question is to Major General Rajiv Narayan. Last 3 weeks, the social media is abuzz with Xi Jinping's existence in the decision-making processes. You yourself were on P-Guru yesterday talking about it. How much of it is real? How much of it is wishful thinking? Thank you.
What I'm saying is that, like I mentioned here, Xi Jinping is not going to go down without a fight. See, the biggest mistake, blunder he did was not making Hun Chunhwa the premier. That was what they lay a lot of stress in the discussions in Baidahe camp in August. They have the full discussion before the Congress there, what all will be shared. There's a lot of give and take. And Hun Chunhwa, who was in the Politburo, was supposed to become the premier. He's from the Communist Youth League. When the actual things came out, and he was about to open the file to see the names, everybody saw it how Hu Jintao was fog-marched outside. Because what Xi Jinping had done was Hun Chunhwa was removed from Politburo itself and he was kept in the Central Committee. He went against the party elders. And he had gone against the princes also because there was an understanding in Deng Xiaoping that you will alternate. If you have a princeling as the general secretary, the premier would be from the Communist Youth League and vice versa. It was religiously followed till Hu Jintao, and Xi Jinping had torn that apart. And they were not happy with his third term. So Hu Jintao is not that well. So his premier, Wen Jiabao, took charge. And there is one more person who is quietly in the background, whose name has not yet been thrown up, is Liu Yuan. Liu Yuan is the son, is a princeling actually, son of Liu Shaoqi, who used to be the chairman of the Communist Party during the Cultural Revolution. In 1969, Mao had him purged and had him killed in the hospital. Liu Shaoqi himself retired, Liu Yuan himself retired as a general in the PLA. He was a political commissar. He has gathered all the princelings together and had challenged Xi Jinping last year, October. So much that Xi Jinping was so scared he never went to attend that meeting, which every year he used to go. And now, last year, August itself, I had said when he had purged Liu Shaoqi, Li Shangfu, who was the defense minister. Li Shangfu is Chang Yujia's protege. He's taken him everywhere. And I said, if Liu Shaoqi has been touched, that means Chang Yujia is in threat. And it would be interesting to see what happens. Now, Chang Yujia has purged everybody. Latest, more than close to 139 of his people have been purged. Xi Jinping's, they've been purged. So this is a struggle which is going on. It's not going to end so easily, because Xi Jinping, why will he give up in a hurry? He has his people. They may be purged. There are others also available. So this is an unwarranted struggle which is on, primarily because their economy has collapsed. And neither Xi Jinping nor his premier Li Qiang, I don't know why he made him, he's no economist, have no clue as to how to look after and what to do. And that is where the others have become strong and said, let us go back to collective leadership of what Deng Xiaoping is doing. But this is not ending in a hurry, not so soon.
You know, you asked a pointed question about the current struggle. If you want to really understand China and what's happening today, this story which both of us have been discussing for long, you have to step back, zoom out of this, and look at the Chinese power transfers which have happened from 1900, from the time the Qing dynasty collapsed to the rise of Sun Yat-sen and this, nationalist movement, right, through the Biang period, through the period when Chiang Kai-shek came, then the national government, how it was thrown out, how national government, Chiang Kai-shek and Mao had a Gathbandhan to fight against Japanese, and then how Mao killed Chiang Kai-shek, or not killed his party, took power, how he continued, how he purged the entire Communist Party through the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward. I mean, during Cultural Revolution, the Great Leap Forward, 30 million people in China died out of starvation. And that was the time when he was invading India, Mao. Okay. Then you go to the time when Mao died, the Gang of Four, they ruled for about 4 years. They got that Huagua effect. And that fellow was purged again by Deng Xiaoping. Now Deng Xiaoping, put these two chaps up, Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao. Jiang Zemin, he controlled Jiang Zemin through the PLA. Jiang Zemin controlled Hu Jintao through the PLA. For the first time, this chap Xi Jinping had his grips on all three, but he's messed it. So this is a thing which will happen. Okay? And every time this power struggle has gone on in China, they have collapsed. And this is a collapse which is happening in China today. There's a collapse which is happening in China. I mean, actually, the actual collapse in China is not politics, it's not economics, it is not politics, it is not commerce, it is not geopolitics. It is their demography. Just think of a country which has lived on a one-child policy for so long, right? This is a country which doesn't have brothers, sisters. It is a country which doesn't have uncles and aunties. We've all grown up with our children, brothers and sisters, and respect which we have, it must be with your children also. Right? If you have a one-child family, naturally there's a country without aunties and uncles. And we've all grown up with our aunties and uncles. Auntie के बिना कैसा जीवन चल सकता है? It doesn't go. So you see there's a big flaw in China. And this flaw, things like yesterday only I read. Today there are instances, it was an article where an old man was standing, 80-year-old man was standing in a metro. He asked a seat to a 14-year-old boy who was sitting down because he had problems. And that 14-year-old boy said, "Get lost, I'm not doing anything." Why? Because this 14-year-old boy has no feeling of helping someone. Because his parents don't have time to educate him what to be. There's a serious flaw in the society. Please understand that. Stop looking at what cheap toys they make. There is a society, there is a civilization which is collapsing. And this collapse has been brought about by their own people. The Chinese. Actually speaking, the Chinese Communist Party has, it has taken China to a place where it cannot recover. As simple as that. I might not see it in my lifetime, but all these kids will see it in their lifetime. That I'm very sure.
Namaskaram, sir. என் பேரு ஸ்ருதி. நம்மளுக்கு பார்டர் காப்பாத்துறதுக்கு, நம்ம நாடை காப்பாத்துறதுக்கு நம்மளுக்கு we have army, we have navy, we have air force. But what pains me is that how are we going to stop the homegrown terrorism? For example, we hear lot of stories from Kerala, West Bengal. In fact, I belong to a small place called Mangaluru. எத்தனையோ சின்ன 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 விஷயங்கள், பட் அதுதான் பெருசா ஆறுது. And Bangalore, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, I hear people say that there's a mini Pakistan here. How are we going to address these issues?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, that's why I said that you have to act maturely, and that comes through education. You cannot kinetically remove ideology. Kinetically, it becomes very difficult. You cannot, because the thought is there. Like General Shankar had mentioned, no, that Pakistan, every time it loses, it becomes politically stronger. That is the Quranic concept of war. That even if two fundamentalists are left behind, rest everybody are massacred, it's still a victory because the thought is still there. And then they can develop it further and get. So, control of education is very important. My personal belief is that theology, like I find in the West, and I like that concept, that the theology should be taught only after school. Let the child first develop mentally. Then when he goes to theology to become priest or a mullah or anything, he has his reasoning and logic in his mind to question. And that is what our culture is all about. What is Bhagavad Gita? It's a question and answer session between Arjun and Lord Krishna. It's not a one-way traffic. So our culture talks of thinking. How do you think? If a 6-year-old child is going to be sent into theology class, does he have even the mind to think that what is being explained to me, is it correct or not? It cuts across everybody. That's the only way I feel that you can change. If you think physically you can do the eviction and other things, becomes an issue. I fought the Kargil war, my buddy was a Muslim. We have faced shelling and we have done everything. Now when you tell him, no, you have to go, what do I tell him? This is what India is all about, like I said, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious. And to get that grip together is education.
Thank you so much for the enlightening lectures given by both the participants. My name is Mrs. Ranjani. My question is, we've had a recent air crash, and many other aircrafts belonging to Indian Airlines, Indigo, have had faults occurring very frequently. Is it anything to do with the internal security aspect? And one more question also I have. Should we not teach the true history to children of our country, unlike the history that is portrayed now? Only then they will understand what are the sacrifices behind this country.
Taking the first one, I think it would be jumping the gun to think that there is an internal security issue. Could be. But basic issue is there's a design defect in the aircraft. It's not just ours are getting highlighted. There are 2-3 aircrafts, one of Lufthansa, Thai Air and others also had to turn back. Same Boeing aircraft. All involved are all Boeing aircraft. It is not confirmed as yet, but from the Boeing side, the fingers are being pointed towards China. They have a very big plant in China where quite a lot of their systems and subsystems are being made. And especially the electrical part is being made in China and coming. And for this aircraft, what is coming out is most likely there was a total electrical failure. But it's only once the black box is read. And people were angry, saying, why is the black box being sent to the US? Well, you don't have that technology to read. It all comes down to the source code. Source code is the heart of any aircraft system in the technology. So he's not going to give you the source code. So hence the black box will have to go to the country of origin of that aircraft for them to read. You and I have no choice in that. But our own team is going to be sitting there with them when they analyze. We will get to know. I won't jump the gun to say that it is because of those Turkish companies and others, they are doing it. Because then the Turkish company loses job everywhere in the world. That's one. Yes, work is on our itihas. But then itihas has to be there with proof, and that is what the new NCRT books they are planning to do to get our history in place. It will take a lot of effort, but the steps have been taken to get our itihas in place than the history which is being taught to us. Mike?
सबसे पहले आप दोनों महानुभावों को मेरा आदरपूर्वक नमन. My name is Mukund Rao, retired accounts officer from DRDO Pune, and they're trying to settle down in Chennai. My question is simple and related to Operation Sindoor. When India was in a commanding position, why did not it insist for the return or the custody of the terrorists?
There is no difference. I do not call the Pakistanis terrorists as non-state actors. I call them the state actors. They are state actors. Only difference is in the uniform that they wear. Can he give you? When his complete army is involved in that. Number two, you have sent the message out to the world. Do you want to get into a protracted war like what is going on in Gaza or Ukraine? See, Pakistan today is a totally radicalized society. So you can't, like I said, radicalism is an ideology. You can't beat it with kinetic means. Jen Shankar had pointed out it has to be political. So, I'm not telling it, bulk of the Western analysts made a mention 2 days after Rob Sindoor was paused. Their statement, I quote, "A new power has risen in Asia and it is not China." What more do you want?
Sir, this is a hypothetical question. Of course, God forbid. If similar kind of an operation is done by these Pakistani fellows, they enter Indian soil and we don't know. These fellows are all. A similar kind of, you will have an extension of Operation Sindoor. I mean, how it's going to be? How it's going to play? We don't know.
Don't worry, sir. Nothing will happen. Okay, don't give too much to these Pakistanis.
Okay.
Dekho, you are worried about Pakistan. Pakistan is actually, dropping bricks, from where? Okay. He's more worried. You're going to stop his water. Okay. He'll not have even a bottle to fill. Just think of yourself. They say, when you go and sleep next to a bear or a big animal, it doesn't matter which side the bear turns. The guy will always get crushed. You are like that. We don't know what we are. You are a very strong country. Don't worry about anything. And Pakistani, kya hai uske paas? He doesn't have money to buy his own roti. He'll come and do, there's a limit to what he can do. Don't worry. Anyway, our boys are there. And I'm sure someone from here also will join the army.
Okay.
To fight
Thank you very much. We are now.
Just add one point.